we're voting members, 5 voting members, so we have quorum.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to call this meeting in order at the time of 7:01 p.m. Good evening, everyone. I get the pleasure of co-chairing my first meeting as chair via Zoom. So, like I said earlier, it's been a challenging 3 weeks, but this has been pretty much my where I've been hanging out in my basement in front of my computer. So just so you're aware, I apologize if my head's turned here and there. I've got a couple screens set up. Unfortunately, I couldn't set the camera up, but I'm just be back and forth between the screens just to get the agenda and follow the information. So welcome, everyone. Instead of taking a roll call, I see Cody's here, Jim's here, Simone's on the line. Florence, obviously, who set up the meeting. Owen's here, and Karina is on the phone. Have I missed anyone?
I think Aaron Nesbitt from Superior North CFDC is also there, and she also says her camera is not working either.
Okay, perfect. Just a little for those who don't know, there is a chat feature. Simone and Aaron have used it. If you don't activate the actual chat feature at the bottom, the screen doesn't pop up on your would be on your right hand side. So if you want to keep the chat feature open, if there's any questions, whatnot, we'll try and use the chat, because at some point when we're voting, it might be easier if you just yay or nay there, or you'll have to go and unmute your mic, your answer, and then mute your mic. So it'll be very important that we keep our mics muted when you don't have the floor, just so we don't hear any background noise. So that being said, I can just move on to second of the agenda, declaration of any conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? Okay, I don't see any chat. I don't see any answers, so I can move on to the next, which is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? If none, can I please get a motion to approve the agenda, and someone to second it, please?
I'll second that.
Okay, so I got
looks like
moved
Jim.
by Cody.
Yeah, and Jim from the chat.
Seconded by Jim. So
Yeah.
let it be resolved that the agenda minutes are approved as presented. Roll call. So again, if everyone's in favor, your silence is good enough. Anyone opposed? Type it in the chat or come online, please. Okay, so silence means everything in this meeting. So next would be the minutes of February 24th, 2020. You've all received these meeting packages in advance of the meeting. Normally we'll give you a couple minutes to review. Since we're all online, does anyone need a few minutes to review? Because if not, I would go right away to get a motion and to have these minutes approved as presented. I have Jim who moved. Can I get someone to second?
It looks like Cody.
Okay. If you do, like, I didn't see it, so thank you, Florence. Okay, so let it be resolved that the meeting minutes from February 24th, 2020 are approved as presented. All those in favor? Silence again is great. Anyone opposed? Type it or.
Hey, we saw that.
Hey, we're gonna learn. Hey, this is a great learning experience. Okay, so if I go to item 5, business arising. Is there any new business? Any business arising? I'll take your silence as everything is fantastic. Then we'll just move on to item 6, is right into the nitty gritty of the community rebranding project. So at this point, I'm gonna refer everyone to the branding proposition document that was provided by FireDog. It was emailed by Florence in, if you go back on April 7th. She sent that to us, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So in there is everything we've done up to this point. And then if you scroll right down to the end, it's going to be what Florence is probably going to talk to us about tonight. So at this point, I'm going to mute my mic and pass it over to Florence.
Great. Thanks, Eric. So as you recall, we, council approved looking at rebranding for the township of Manitowoc, and FireDog Communication from Thunder Bay was hired to be the consultant on that project. They did hold an open house, but throughout the months of December, January, and February, they did online public consultation through SurveyMonkey. And then they arrived in Manitowoc to do the open house. So there's a number of things that they are looking at as they're doing this project. And this document is kind of sets the stage for their next level of development of the brand. So it's really a summary of the actions that they've completed to date, what it is that they're trying to gather from the community, and how they're going to go about further developing the brand. So you've all had the document, you had a chance to look at that, you've seen the number of surveys that they completed online. You obviously participated in that, you saw the questions, but additionally, they've provided some of the comments back, and it's a wide range of comments, some very positive and some on the negative side, but both types of comments are welcome and part of the process. And as you get further into the document, you start to see, and it starts to narrow down what the key aspects are for Manitowoc and what people I think are the great strengths of the community. And it's certainly something that resonated with me as I was reading it. And it's nice to see those key strengths written out in strong sentences. Additionally, FireDog did some work with the schools, and thanks, Eric, for the participation from your school in that. And you could see also themes starting to develop in the way the youth represented the community as well. So getting to the good part about the document is, you know, some of the history and the culture and how that was pulled out of the process. The major activities, the physical attributes, the key experiential attributes, and the personality attributes. And all of those go into the brand and will be further developed in not only the tagline that's used, but also the image that's developed once we narrow down this process. And that's called the brand voice. And how they will do that is the next step. So it's our job tonight and the job of the committee to narrow down the 6 options to preferably one option that we can present back to FireDog so that they can move forward with the next step of the branding exercise. So I will leave it in the hands of Eric now to facilitate that conversation. And I just want to say that, you know, as staff, we don't have a vote on the committee. and really it comes down to the four of you tonight to make that decision. But if there's input required that you want back from us, and the resource people on the line, Karina and Aaron, we'd be happy to participate in that discussion. So I'll turn it over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Florence. Okay, I read the document myself when we looked at when we got it in April 7th. I've had about a week to mull it over myself. I'd like to hear from everybody. We'll do it in alphabetical order. We'll start with Cody, Jim, Kevin not being here, Simon, and I'll speak on it, and then I'll pass it over to the staff and our consultants who are on the phone. But basically, if you guys have the document open, if we go right down to our tagline options, which is page 24 of the PDF that was sent, like we have option 1, better natured. This option describes superior nature, beauty, outdoor life, wilderness of Manitowoc's unique location. It also speaks to the friendly, approachable, and welcoming personality of the town that sets it apart from others. So there's one option that was proposed to us. Option 2, in the heart of nature. So in the heart of nature highlights the unique location, geography, and beauty of Manitowoc and its surroundings of lakes, rivers, forests, mountains, and more. The word heart reflects a central geographic location, as well as the kindness of the community spirit and local people. Again, a viable option that really, I think, describes our community. Option 3, where opportunity comes naturally. What makes this option compelling is that the idea of opportunity has been in Manitowoc's history and makeup since the very beginning. In so many ways, the story of the town is the story of opportunity. It is a positive and aspirational tagline that communicates that opportunity still lives, works, and plays in Manitowoc today, and that these opportunities are based in natural resources. Naturally also conveys the laid-back, down-to-earth, and simpler way of life in the community. In this context, the word opportunity is broad and can be relatable to any audience or sector. Again, option 3, it really describes Manitowoc. Number 4, natural community spirit. This option embodies the top 3 unique qualities of Manitowoc into one short sentence. Natural speaks to the natural setting and location. Community speaks to the small town and welcoming attributes. And spirit speaks to its indigenous cultural heritage, the friendly people, and open-minded personality of the community. Again, another fantastic option. Option 5, Great North Spirit. This short and powerful statement honors the indigenous history and culture of the community, and at the same time promotes the northern location as well as the adventurous, friendly, hardworking, and progressive personality attributes of Manitowoc. Again, they pretty much hit the nail on the head. And option 6, Beyond the City. This is more modern and alternative approach to a tagline that encourages audiences to consider opportunities outside the busy city life. It highlights that Manitowoc is proud to be a small northern community. It promotes a community as a unique place to discover and experience for living, work, business, or play that is prosperous and outside the box. This tagline turns the remote location of Manitowoc into a point of interest and strength. So again, like I think according to all the information that they've gathered so far, all the public consultation has been done, surveys, the fantastic job that Florence and her team at the township have done to get all this information for Fire Dog. I believe that they've put forth 6 great options, and like Florence said, we need to narrow this down to one of this so we can eventually move forward to phase 2. So at this time, I'd like to open up the discussion. Again, we'll go alphabetically for the voting members, and we'll open it up to the staff and their guests. So Cody, I'll hand off the mic to you.
right, can everybody hear me or?
Yeah.
Okay, our bell isn't the best, but myself as well, I had an opportunity to ponder them as well. None of them really like jumped out at me crazily there, but you know, it's a good starting point anyway. The only thing I wanted to point out about option 2 is the community of Hornpain. They consider themselves the heart of Ontario, and they're geographically mentioned on their website. That was option 2. I just figured with them being close neighbors to Manitowoc, I don't know if that's an issue or option 3. It kind of sounds like you know, coming to Manitowoc, there's opportunity. Like when I read that to me kind of sounds like opportunity for employment or whatnot. And that's pretty much how I feel about option 3. Number 4, natural community spirit. That's probably my favorite one of the bunch there. Option 5 as well, I do like it. And option 6, beyond the city, we're definitely beyond the city. There's no cities nearby for quite a ways, so I'm not a huge fan of option 6, but option 5 and 4 for me would be my preference.
Okay, thank you, Cody. Any comment? Oh, well, no, we'll go through everyone and then we'll open up the floor to discussion. So, Jim, what do you think?
Okay. Well, my choices by looking at them here is I actually like Beyond the City. That is basically almost like we're proud to not be in a city. That's kind of how I read that one, which is, you know, I'm very proud, especially in this day and age, that we're in a small, nice, tight community. So that would be my number 1 choice. And my second, I kind of like number 2, in the heart of nature, but I know what Cody was saying about Hornpain, because they were advertising they are basically geographically the center of Canada, I think it is. I'm not sure if it's Ontario or all of Canada, but I know that they actually located the exact center of whatever it was. So so maybe that does not work for us. But so anyway, that's how my thoughts are. The other ones are all, you know, okay, fine, but these are my preferences. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Next up would be Simone.
Hello. I was just reading them over again. I had looked at them originally when I got them. Every time I see the word better natured, it just kind of gives me a negative connotation as to what? Better natured as opposed to not so better natured. That's the way I think about number 1. So I wasn't fond of that. Number 2, in the heart of nature. Jim, I'm with you on this. Again, what Cody said is it's something that is already used. I really did like that one. It just was, it's so suiting to our community. So again, because of what Cody said, and Jim, you said you like that one as well, but because of the Hornpain thing, I don't know whether that would fly or not. Where opportunity comes naturally, I feel that that one's misleading. Because what if somebody came and said, well, what opportunity? So it's kind of like it's almost like a slogan, like come here and you're gonna have opportunities. Where we can't stand behind that. So I wasn't really fond of that one. I don't know about number 4. I'm just natural community spirit. It just feels like something that, I don't know, it just feels like something that should be a slogan on the rec center or something. It just didn't resonate with me at all, that one. Great North spirit, I liked. but not as much as I like number 2. And beyond the city, okay, but I think that focusing on the nature and the beauty of our surroundings, that is just a little bit more, it just makes more sense to me. So if I had to pick, it would definitely be number 2. Okay.
Thanks, Simone.
You're welcome.
I'm since Kevin's not here, I'm up next. I'm with you about the heart of nature, but like Cody brought up, and I'm happy he brought up, if that's the case, like I don't think that'd be they're our neighbors. I don't think that might be like, we have to have a lot more discussion around that, and we maybe have to reach out and to Hornpain, maybe find out what their feeling would be if we move forward on that. I really stuck on a couple words, really, not so much the slogans. Spirit, anything that we can integrate Indigenous communities, their history and whatnot. Very important. If anything has taught us with the NWMO, we need, moving forward, if we want to ever have an opportunity to have maybe a big project like that again, we need to have our partners on board, and we need our neighbors on board. It'd be a good way to do that, to start mending that bridge, or build that bridge, I should say. Beyond the City was really my option, other than the Spirit. Like, my option every time I read Beyond the City, I've lived in a bigger city. I've always lived up north. I know when I go down south to Toronto, those big metropolitan areas, I have anxiety. I know a lot of people that I talk to that live there. It creates anxiety and whatnot, and people are looking for other options. I like that. It's basically beyond the city. What's beyond the city? Well, lakes and forests and whatnot. So it kind of goes and gets all the nature components, I believe, that really describe us. And it is a unique, kind of tagline. I haven't really heard nothing like that around. But I'm kind of on the fence here, like what Cody brought up. Nothing had really jumped out at me that saying that's amazing, that's awesome. So that's my take on it. At this point, I think I'd like to open it up to the staff and see, because they've worked with Fire Dog a little more closely. They've seen the surveys firsthand. They've talked to probably more people in the community. So again, if we go alphabetically, we can start with Florence.
Sure. Thanks again, Eric. I agree with everyone's comments. I guess, the document that you have in front of you is not the first draft. And so when they sent me the first draft, it took a while for me to respond back to them, because I had to, like you said, Eric, kind of digest the information and start to think about, what does Manitouwadge mean to me, and what words, come to mind. And spirit was a word that was used quite frequently in the surveys, and when the staff from Fire Dog came to Manitouwadge to do the open house, but yet it wasn't reflected in any of the options from the first document that they presented. So I was happy to see in the next draft that they did incorporate that word. There are some difficulties with the word itself, especially in the First Nation culture. Two-spirited has a meaning all on its own, which may not be what Manitouwadge wants to put as a tagline. and so it has to be used very carefully and in a way that doesn't kind of create any negative images or stereotypes. But I think that it's something that we can consider, and perhaps with some tweaking, we might be able to put some suggestions forward. Now, the difficulty in tweaking is that, and this already came up kind of with Hornpain, is that another community might be using it. So what it does is it makes Stephanie at Firedog go back and do another search for what communities are using a tagline similar to that. If somebody was Googling that tagline, what's going to come up first? We want Manitowoc to come up first. And so there's lots of things to consider in making some tweaks to it, but also making sure that it's, again, reflective of Manitowoc and the community that we are and the community that we want to be into the future. There's no doubt in my mind that the word nature needs to be there. It is representative in every comment that we got back in the surveys and in person. So I think I'll just leave it at that and let the next person have their comments.
Thank you, Florence. Jolene.
Hi, everyone. I wasn't expecting to actually participate. I had an opportunity to look through all of them as well. And I agree with Flo, where I think nature needs to be in the tagline, but I'm not really feeling any of the ones that are there now. It might be difficult to come up with one and have a consensus from everybody to present it. So I'll just leave that up to you guys to work together and come up with something. Thank you.
Thanks, Jolene. Owen, do you have any comments to share?
I think some good work has been done by Firedog. I think the review tonight, your comments are all accurate. I think when I look at Beyond the City, it feels like it needs more words to it than just that. It doesn't really, it just tells you what it isn't. It doesn't tell you what it is. So, I think the sentiment about tying it to the nature and then a natural environment around here is important. I've been through these exercises over the years with the town, and one thing that always comes out is the friendly nature of the residents. And putting those things together, I think, is a good reflection of our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Owen. At this time, I'd like to invite Aaron and Karina to weigh in. Aaron, we'll start with you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I think what everyone had to say is very valuable and very insightful. I hear the nature. I hear it. I feel it when I go there. I think it's abundant. I think that is, that's who you are. And that's where you are. So I think that if you could possibly work with option 2 and figure out a different word for heart, and maybe fill it in with soul, in the soul of nature, in the spirit of nature, in the something around that, I think would maybe resonate with what everyone's had to say so far. And I agree with Beyond the City in the fact that, yes, it is Beyond the City. And my mind, when I close my eyes and say Beyond the City, I think of like, what is the potential? What are the opportunities out there that is not in the city? But then on the other side of it, it's like, okay, that's great. you're right, we're not in the city. That's the end of it. So yeah, that's kind of where I come from. Hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Aaron. How about Karina? Do you have anything to add?
No comments. Just if you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. But otherwise, I'll just kind of lurk.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Karina. At this point, I don't think like we're far from a consensus. So I'd like to maybe go back because a few things have been like, shared, the nature, the friendliness, again, being careful with vocabulary, not to insult anybody. If I go back to page 21 on the proposal, there's all these key words when they're describing the key physical attributes, the key experiential attributes, and the key personality attributes. And like nature, natural resources, small community, friendly, down to earth, safe, peaceful. Like these are words that resonate with me. Living here, having chosen to move here, these are the words that come and get me. Now, it might be different for myself because I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary being a resident of Manitowoc. But from what I can hear from everyone else, these are kind of words that resonate with you as well. So maybe if we can go around and just like, if we can concentrate maybe on certain words, it will help us narrow down direction that we can give to Firedog if we choose not to vote for one of these options tonight. So maybe we can go around again, like alphabetically: Cody, Jim, Simone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Under key physical attributes, nature, natural resources, families. Under key experiential attributes, welcoming, neighborly, safe, peaceful, outdoor activities, community. And for key personality attributes, pretty much all of them.
Okay, so but Cody, like if you're gonna take like even one or two from each column, like just we have to start narrowing them down. Like which ones like jump out the most at you, like come and get you?
I'm gonna say nature in the first category, peaceful in the second category, and probably spirited.
Okay, thanks. We have Jim wrote naturally beyond the city as in the chat feature, and then we have Simone that added the heart of nature. Jim, did you are there any other key words that maybe jump out that really come and get you?
Well, that's where, like, when I was thinking about it there, because I like the beyond the city, and then by throwing in the naturally beyond the city, to me that kind of throws in the nature there, and emphasizes that you're away from the city in nature. So that's, I don't know, I kind of like the ring of that. But so as far as the other ones are on page 21. I like the idea like small community. The next one is the slower pace, which is very welcoming, I think. And the other one is, I'd say friendly. Those would be my top picks in those categories.
That's about it.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Simone, anything to add?
Yeah, I was just, when I posted that other one, The Heart of Nature, all I did was take off the "in," right? And so it's kind of, that one really speaks to me. But out of these 3 columns here, I have to say nature. I'm torn between peaceful and slower pace, but I think peaceful encompasses slower pace anyways. And in the 3rd column, I would have to say adventurous, because there's so much to do. So those would be my choices.
Simone, I didn't catch the first column. It was cracking up.
Okay, the first column I said nature.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with for the nature. Absolutely. Same with peaceful, slower pace, even welcoming. Like it's we have to. It's a slogan, so we have to be very careful on how we like the vocabulary we use, because obviously peaceful to me might mean something different to Jim, could be something different to Owen, to Cody. But yeah, it's I think it's more neighborly, friendly, welcoming for a community. Those are the words that really jump out to me. So like, if anyone else wants to add to this conversation right now, like, just please, just like, yeah, no, just jump in. I don't think if I'm hearing everyone correctly, I don't think we're gonna narrow down one of these options that's been presented by Fire Dog, correct? So silence means yes. So at this point, if that's the case, because we need to move on to phase 2 as quickly as possible, we're gonna have to give Fire Dog some direction, because this is obviously this is the key, the last piece of the puzzle for phase 1, according to the plans that Flo gave us. So again, let's open this up. And if anyone has anything to say, just take on the mic, and then whoever wants to add, just maybe use the chat feature. And as I see your names pop up, I'll cue you in.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but we got to move on. But at the same time, I can't. It's like we can't be rushed into it. I think it definitely has to be discussed and maybe brought out to the public on some of the options. I'm not sure how that exactly works, but anyway, that's my thoughts there.
I don't think at this point I want to rush it either, Jim. And I think, but the standpoint I'd like to take is, if we can give Fire Dog even more direction, like Flo said, the first draft that was sent, there were some things that were missing. Flo gave her input. Maybe if us as a committee, we give our input as well, and they come back to the table with other options for us, maybe that'll help us narrow things down. But like you, I'm not ready to, say we need taglines with these words and these words and these words, but at the same time, we need to kind of give them a little bit of, something to work with.
Eric, it's all Creddy. I typed up naturally great natured. I think it talks about the nature that we have. It also talks about the friendly nature of the people in the community. And for those of us that have been around for a while, when we say great, well, I often think about the great spirit or that ties to Manitowoc. So I'm just wondering if having that word in there would kind of tie that spirit thought without actually having the word spirit in there.
Thanks, Owen. I wrote it. My only concern would be like naturally and nature, same sentence. We're kind of like, you know, we're playing with the same type of words, but I'm sure that there could be a word that could be swapped out here, like for to convey the same meaning. But I like the great spirit comment because every time we bring someone, Indigenous person to the school, for some reason they're always able to take whatever project we're doing, whatnot, and make a link with our heritage, Indigenous communities, and whatnot. So I like that part. We had Simone that wrote, I think the message has to have a hook to it that describes our town and what it has to offer. And then Cody added the heart of nature, question mark. Flo, did you want to add to this?
I'm playing with words as everybody's talking, but I see a couple comments now. The heart of nature, both Cody put that forward and Simone. That's a slight tweak to in the heart of nature. I'm thinking natural great spirit. And again, you know, the brand needs to be something that we can live up to. And in the heart of nature, naturally beyond the city, and natural great spirit are all things that we can live up to because that's who we are already. The message needs to be communicated outward so that if there is a visitor coming to the community, that every interaction that they have in Manitowoc, they can walk away and say, yeah, like they do have a great spirit, or yeah, they are in the heart of nature. So it isn't just about the tagline, it's about the experience that people have when they're in the community. So that's like the role of not only the committee, but all the residents kind of in the next step. Like once we have a brand, you know, what does that mean? And how do we achieve that brand? So you also have to think about what's our role and how can we communicate that to other people, but that's their role.
Thank you, Florence, for the input. At this point, and again, I'd like to open this up for discussion. Do you think that it would be wise to just defer back to Fire Dog to see what else they could come up with? I understand like what Jim said about the public consultation, but we've like from everything that we've read, everything Fire Dog's done to get us to the point we're at now, I strongly believe that we've done that work. We've already consulted, we've had the open houses, we've done all that. At this point in time, I think that to get us to a consensus, something that that really speaks to us, would be to defer back to Fire Dog, see what else they can come up with kind of like I took a bunch of notes, the conversations we had, and I'm sure Florence did as well, what we've discussed. and then see what they come back to us with. Again, I'd like to go around the table. Cody, starting with you, what do you think about that deferring to back to Fire Dog?
I'm totally on board with that myself. I agree with that.
Jim?
Oh, I think we might have lost them.
Yeah, I see that.
If it's just me or if it's
Jim, we can.
anybody that the video and the talking is breaking up. Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, you were breaking up. So can you start over?
No. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It looks to me like I don't know if it's just me or if
I know on my end, Jim, the internet's been good. You cut out their audio. I don't know if anyone else heard the rest of your audio.
No.
I know that depending on the internet we have, having the video and the audio at the same time, if you shut off the video, it improves the connection. I don't know if you want to try that. Or you can just put in the chat feature. If you can hear us, fine, but we can't hear you.
Okay, now I think he's gone. We're down to 7 participants now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll come back. So in the meantime, Simone, what were your thoughts about deferring back?
I think that we really don't have much choice because it's just there doesn't seem to be enough substance in what we've got. They're like the words nature, great, no problem. I mean, heart, wonderful, but it's just not gelling. There's just not, we're missing something.
Okay. I agree as well. I think that defer back. I'm not sure that I would want to go back to a public consultation though. I think the work's been done. I think the input for phase 1 has been done. And then whatever Fire Dog comes back with, we can sit down again, discuss. We're probably going to have to go through the options. We're going to have this exercise again, I'm sure. Hopefully after sharing all the input and the information that we've gathered during this discussion, it might, help things. I would maybe put out to Florence, is there any way that, to find out about that heart thing about with horn pain?
Yes, absolutely.
Because there's no sense having that in there if, we're just going to upset our neighbor.
Yep.
Great. Is, again, Simone, Cody, you agree with that as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Myself as well. Yeah, I agree with that, Eric.
Okay, great. So at this point, we still have quorum. Maybe if we can get a mover and a seconder, that we just a motion that we want to consult, recommend that the committee go back to Fire Dog with the information that we gathered this evening to see what else they can come up with. Jim's like, not sure what happened. He just texted me. I'll ask him to connect again. Just bear with me a sec. I'll get Jim on the audio so we can move forward. I'll just get him on my phone. Hi, Can we have you on audio so we can just move forward?
Well, it says here, please wait. The meeting host will let you in soon.
Oh,
Oh.
that's me. Hold on. Okay, you're in.
Okay, Jim, can you hear us?
Okay, sorry about that, everybody. I guess I just lost my internet for a minute there.
You're forgiven, Jim. Jim, I was just asking right before when you got disconnected, what everyone thought about deferring back to Fire Dog with the information we were going to share with the discussion we had tonight to see if they can come up with other options. Also asked Florence if she could, find out about the word heart for, how attached it is for horn pain, whatnot. So like, there's no sense having that in our tagline if, it's our neighbor's slogan. And Cody and Simone were in agreement to defer back to Fire Dog.
Yeah, I agree. Why don't we just take whatever it is, the 3 or 4 suggestions that we have and send that back to Fire Dog and see if they can work with that or go from there, as that's kind of where our thought process is going.
Okay, so the second part of my question was, and this is my personal opinion, at this point, with everything that's been done to get us to where we are, I don't believe that another public consultation on an option is it's feasible. I think it'll just slow the process down more than anything else. That if Fire Dog comes back to us with another 4, 5, 6 options like today, we just start this exercise all over again to hopefully maybe be in a position to narrow it down to 1 or 2 options. And then at that point, if we want a public consultation, we can put a motion in for that. You in agreement with that for now?
Yeah, that's I mean, that definitely has its pros and cons, because if we do bring it to the community for consultations, then we could end up going right back to square one. So I agree. We'll bring it to Fire Dog, bring it back to us, and then maybe we will be able to bring it down to either something we all like, or down to at least a couple.
Perfect. Okay, great. So I've got Simon who moved to they be resolved that we go back to Fire Dog with the information that we have tonight to see if they can come up with a few more options for us. Can I have someone to second that? Jim? So all in favor? Silence is key. Anyone opposed? Okay, so moving on then to, if I go back to our agenda, we are now, sorry, I got too many screens open here. Okay, so we're basically other business. This was, no, sorry, I've got an old agenda here. Sorry, let me get this open. Okay, 70, number 7, community, we just finished that. Other business, any other business? No?
Sorry, Eric, there's number 8, community revitalization project. Do you have that on yours?
Got that on 7 here. Sorry, Flo.
Okay.
Okay, apologize. So I'm going to hand it over to Flo for number 7, community revitalization.
Okay, great. So I put Kim McKee from Forum Studio Architects in touch with Stephanie at Fire Dog Communication, because a lot of the work that will be done with community revitalization will potentially include brand options and definitely themes that develop. So if there's a way that they can coordinate their efforts, that will give us a more fulsome project in the end. And so they're both kind of waiting on us at the moment to determine next steps, because at the last council meeting, council approved looking at alternate methods of public consultation that would include the use of, again, SurveyMonkey, Zoom, podcasts, as a way to engage the public to provide input into the design options that we're going to be seeing come out of the community revitalization. So we were kind of at a standstill until we figure out what our brand is going to be. And I'll get in touch with Stephanie tomorrow, and hopefully she'll get back to me within a week with some more options. So we can call another meeting once we have that document. And then we can give some direction to Forum Studio architects. But in the meantime, they have put a draft community improvement plan together. And as you remember, that's kind of the private sector piece that will allow council to create incentives for private sector development. But that has to be done through the Planning Act. And so council has to approve that document. But at the same time, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing has also got to approve that document. So the draft is prepared. MMAH is reviewing it and will provide comment on it, and then get it back to the consultant, who will get it back to us. There were a couple of things that they did ask us to look into with regard to the boundaries within the community, and so we are working with them on that. And I do expect that once we get this branding piece nailed down, everything's going to start to come together fairly quickly. When they were here in February, I think, they did come back quite quickly with a number of considerations, including moving the community garden downtown so that more people know it's there, more people can participate in it. Certainly looking at the volunteers that work there, they are struggling themselves with only a few people who actually utilize or who volunteer to take care of the garden. So that you can prepare yourself that might be some of the things that you see in the draft plans that come together. And also incorporating whether that would be at the lakefront or whether that would be in Agawam Gardens. But, it's another reason to bring people downtown or closer to the downtown. Now, I did read an article today that through Municipal World that questioned, because of COVID, will our downtowns be downtowns anymore? Like, will they be gathering places? Will there be markets? Will there be outdoor cafes? And what does COVID mean to us moving forward in terms of public spaces? So that kind of stopped me in my tracks. So when we're in the middle of this project and trying to create ways for more people to gather in places to do that in the downtown core, and that might not be what we want to do. So it's definitely an interesting time to be doing this project, an interesting time for our consultants who, are tasked with revitalizing our community, and what exactly is that going to look like? Because I'm sure they're scratching their heads as well.
Florence, based on your comments about the gathering things, and we've read a lot of stuff lately about people saying we're going to have a new norm and what that's going to be. I wonder if we could use our SurveyMonkey now or something and just take a poll of the community of what changes have they seen since the start of COVID, and is there things they think they'll be permanent come out of this down the road? Like, one of the comments I've heard is, do we think the plexiglass in the stores will ever come down? That's just the type of thing. I had a friend I've known for 30 years called me the other day and say, the next time we see each other, and I haven't seen him for a year, he says, are we going to shake hands? Like, there's going to be some changes that are going to come out of that. And maybe it's a good question that we could do on the side right now with SurveyMonkey or something to bring some feedback back to this process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think they'd have to be very carefully worded questions because, as you know, that there's a lot of anxiety amongst residents, and asking such questions might just increase that anxiety in terms of starting to think forward into the future about, you know, what life is going to be like beyond COVID. And yeah, I kind of have two minds about that.
Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
You see a lot of comments lately about all the acts of kindness or people that are doing, and people hope that carries on into our life as we move forward.
Right.
One thing that is bouncing around social media, and I think there is a place for the Survey Monkey to get input, but like Florence said, I think we'd have to be very careful on how to word the questions to be absolutely very positive and upbeat about, like, you know, what the future holds, because right now the anxiety is like, we don't know. Like,
we could ask specifically about what are the good things, you know, and I understand what you're saying about form the question. So what are the good things that we would like to see carry on?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
And but one thing, the point I was getting at is, one thing I've noticed, and people are just craving that interaction right now. They are craving, you know, going uptown and, you know, talking to someone, or, you know, going over to someone, play cards, going to have a beer with someone, you know, just talk, they're craving that normalcy, if you want. I know it might create a new normal, but I think the downtown, especially in a small community, is going to become even more important, because they're looking, like, where are the kids going? The kids want to go to the park. They want to go to the, you know, skate park. They want to go play. They want to go down to the lake. They want to go swimming. The adults were the same way. We need common areas that we know we can gather. So, like, you know, I love the fact that, like, you know, if we make our downtown beautiful, like, who wouldn't want to be down there, right? Who, right now, when we go for our walks, we avoid downtown. Like, you know, like, COVID aside, we just avoid going downtown. Why? Because it just seems to be nicer going through, like, you know, down the streets. You get to see people, whatnot. Like, I don't know. This is my own personal opinion, obviously, but I think Florence, going forward, there's still going to be a place for this project, and it's going to be even more important, I believe.
Thanks, Eric. I think you're right about that. And, you know, certainly I've lived in a number of different communities, and the downtown core is the central place, and Manitouwadge doesn't necessarily have that. And if we created it, would it be something that people flock to because they're craving that social interaction?
Okay, I have a comment here. Just, I guess during this pandemic that we're going through right now, this is, because of what the changes are going to be with everybody, this is actually a good time to be doing this, because we'll be doing it up to date with what the new normal is going to be in a way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, I'm a strong believer that, like, you know, things happen for a reason. And I think that we're at the point we are right now because we're going to need, people are going to need to see things moving forward, see projects that are still developing and whatnot. So I think that the sooner we can get into phase 2, the sooner, like, people are going to start to see, oh, this is what the Revitalization Advisory Committee is about. This is what they want to do. Like, you know, what the brand, what the logo is going to mean, like all the, all the work and the activities that will go around that, I think will just bring the community together. Because right now we're all like the most antisocial people, like, forced into our own homes. And it's like, even the kids now, like I seen a few students and they don't know if they should be saying hi to me or like, nothing. So it's like, I think this is just bring the community together.
Good. Well, I'm hoping that when we get to the public consultation phase that we get lots of input, because people will have time to participate and will be interested in how we're all going to be able to get out and get together again.
Thank you, Florence. Karina and Aaron, you're quiet in your little your little nooks in your homes. Do you guys have anything to add?
I don't know.
Aaron?
Oh, she typed in the chat. It's all good on her end, she said.
Okay, then moving on to item 8, other business. Is there any other business?
So just once again, we're looking at options for the open house that was supposed to be scheduled this month in person, and looking at alternate forms of using online and paper copies to gather input from the community about options for the downtown. So I'll keep you posted as that information comes forward.
Okay, so really right now there's not much we can do for open houses. So
No.
other than using technologies, is there any plans on getting any of this information out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what we'll have to do is put the information up on our social media channels and perhaps look at other formats as well, so that people can see the designs and have a way to provide comment back.
So basically, until we hear back from Fire Dog and then we get a brand, a tagline, whatnot, everything is just going to be put on hold until we have our next meeting.
Right. And I'm hoping that will be within the next 2 weeks. Fire Dog's really very quick at turning this around. And I know that Stephanie and her design team will hit the nail on the head because we're close.
Great. Thanks, Florence. So other than the possibility of getting together again within the next 2 weeks to consult about those options again, if we go to 9, can we set maybe our next meetings for May, June, July now, even though they might have to be changed if we don't have quorum between those meetings? I think we've maintained. Oh no! Normally Thursdays is isn't that your fire hall meeting, Owen, on Thursdays?
Yeah, Thursday nights, while we're COVID, we're not having Thursday night trainings, but when this gets lifted, then I'm not available on Thursday nights.
So we could move it back to Tuesdays.
Tuesday's fine with me.
We could do
That's good for me as well.
the third Tuesday of each month.
That works for me.
So that'll be the 19th of May, the 16th of June.
So the 19th of May is the Tuesday after long weekend, even though that might be canceled. Everyone's good with that night?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so every third Tuesday looks like tentative dates. So we've got May 19th, June 23rd, no, June 16th. We go Tuesday because there's 5 Tuesdays that month. You guys want the 16th or to move it at the 23rd? Let's do this. No, actually 16th. For me, the 23rd would be no good if the school's back on. If that works for everyone, and then we'll go to July 21st.
All right.
I'm good with that too.
Fantastic. So if there's nothing else, can it be moved that the April 16th meeting of the Community Revitalization Advisory Committee be adjourned at the time of 8:12 p.m. Can I get a,
Move to adjourn.
I don't know. Was that Simone? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, move to adjourn.
All right.
Great.
You did a
Fantastic.
great job, Eric. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Like I said, it's been my new normal. I've had some. I hope I didn't talk too much, but that's the principle in me.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Good night.
Aaron, and thanks, Karina.
Thank you.